All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, the NBA appears to be fed up with Golden State Warriors forward Draymond Green as an indefinite suspension has been handed down by the league towards the forward. Now, the suspension is a result of Green hitting Phoenix Suns center Yusuf Nurkic earlier this week. And you just think about it because this marks the second time that Green has been suspended by the NBA this season as the league sat him down for 5 games just last month, following him putting Minnesota Timberwolves center Rudy Gobert in a sleeper hold, so to speak. Now, the NBA, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, they're getting tired of Draymond. But honestly, they have nobody, and I mean nobody to blame for this but themselves. And I know that Draymond is a grown man, and it's very true. But when you don't nip something in the bud, you're going to allow it to get out of control. And the NBA has, let these actions go on for a long time. And when you don't, take care of something properly, things like this can happen. I mean, you just look at it for Draymond Green's career, how many technicals he's been assessed, how many times he's been ejected. And you're talking about a guy that has racked up, okay, a whopping total in fines by the league. We're talking about, a big sum right now. We're talking about upwards or more than $2 million. Okay. And that might not sound like a lot when you think about NBA salaries, but, those fines are adding up. And we're not even talking about the suspensions now because Draymond Green is missing game checks. And you just think about some of the incidents. I'm not going to sit back and name everything because I'm not going to take up that much of people's times. But, some of the situations and some of the incidents that stick out more than others. You go back to the 2016 Western Conference Finals when the Warriors were playing the Thunder and Draymond should have been suspended when he kicked Steven Adams, then of the Thunder, in the groin. And then, of course, the 2016 NBA Finals when he got into it with LeBron, got the technical, got suspended for Game 5 when the Warriors were up 3-1. The Cavs got momentum off of that, and of course, they pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in NBA history or playoff history for any sport, for that matter. You go back to last year's playoffs when he stomped on the chest of Kings forward Domantas Sabonis, and it's one of those where, and of course, like this year with Rudy Gobert and then with Yusuf Nurkic. But honestly, for me, I'm not holding the Golden State Warriors blameless on this either because they've allowed this to go too far as well. And you think about it, the incident with Kevin Durant when Durant was, or incidents rather, with Kevin Durant when he was on the Golden State Warriors, punching Jordan Poole last year, and that caused a big controversy within the team. And then again, all of these transgressions, if you will, this is what happens when you don't nip something in the bud. And I'll tell you like this: when you have situations like this, you're going to say, well, where's the leadership going to come from? Who's going to step forward and pull Draymond aside and talk to him and be a leader? Problem is, Draymond's a leader on the team. For all of the superstar status that we give Steph Curry, and he deserves it, he's not the leader. Draymond Green is the emotional heart and soul of that team. And I don't see a scenario where Clay Thompson or a Steph Curry are going to be able to, hey, get through to him and try to rein this in. Because if they had done so, or if they had been able to have done so, things would have been a lot different, a lot quicker. And honestly, I think the red light should have gone off for the entire Golden State Warriors organization in regards to Draymond Green back to 2016 with the incident with LeBron in the NBA Finals, because you could say what you want, but that incident with LeBron cost the Golden State Warriors an NBA championship. And it's one of those where, I know that the Warriors had a stretch where they won 3 titles in 5 years, and of course, they came back a couple of years ago and won another one. But you don't have an opportunity like that often to win, especially when you're talking about you had a chance at history. You were a 73 win team, most wins ever in NBA history during the regular season. But at the end of the day, nobody's going to talk about it because you didn't win the championship. All right. I think that's when the red light should have gone off for a lot of people. But Golden State and the NBA alike have allowed this to go on. Why? Because they keep trying to dismiss it because, from the Warriors standpoint, well, Draymond's an emotional guy. He's a fiery guy. Yeah, you can be emotional, you can be fiery, but you have to play within the realm of something. And what he's doing right now is not, and it hasn't been within the realm of winning. Now, for Draymond and the Golden State Warriors, I'll say this first about Draymond. If we're talking about the NBA 40 years ago, Draymond would have fit in, okay? But obviously, it's a different era in the league. And at the same time, Draymond does what he does because it's the bully mentality. Nobody has turned around and hauled off and hit him in the mouth. I guarantee you if Draymond had to deal with the retaliations from opponents like we saw in the NBA 30, 40, 50 years ago, Draymond would not do what he does. But it's the fact that nobody in this current NBA is going to do that because guys know you throw a punch, you're automatically ejected, you're automatically suspended for at least one game, and guys are not willing to forfeit those paychecks. And I think, you go back nearly 20 years ago, the malice at the palace really changed a lot of things. And we saw the heavy suspensions handed down by former NBA Commissioner David Stern. And just like I said, with the John Morant situation, I'll say this with Draymond Green as well. These guys, especially any of them right now in the NBA, they should thank their lucky stars that they have to deal with Adam Silver as the NBA's commissioner and not David Stern, because David Stern was a much more harsh and stern, no pun intended, disciplinarian when it came to his league than Adam Silver is. Adam Silver, tries to work with the players, be more of a players commissioner, and at some point, it's probably going to really hurt him. But nonetheless, at this point, I think David Stern would have sat Draymond Green down for at least 15 games. All right. And it's something, honestly, thinking about David Stern and the way that he did things, David Stern probably would not have allowed it to have gotten to the current point that it is. So, I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors again with the incident with LeBron. Also, go back to the incidents with Kevin Durant because that to me, I know that the Warriors still won after that, but I think that to me was the beginning of the end for everything because I know that KD has had his injuries, since then. And of course, his last year with Golden State, he had the Achilles injury. But let's just think about it for a minute. How many more championships do you think the Warriors would have had if they had a prime KD still playing there with Steph Curry? I'll just let you think about it. But, getting back to the Warriors, Draymond's the heart and soul of this team. I understand that. And now they're walking the fine line of the razor's edge because the Warriors, first and foremost, are trying to win with a brand and a style of basketball that they can't win with anymore. And I said this last season. The Warriors can no longer live and die by the three-point shot. They're still trying to do that. Steph Curry's older. Klay Thompson's older. The age and injuries are catching up to them. They don't have the adept like they did once upon a time with the guys like Sean Livingston, with the guys like Andre Iguodala, guys like that that just did a little bit of everything. Draymond Green himself is not the player that he was 7 or 8 years ago for the Golden State Warriors. Not the same defender. He still brings that leadership. He still brings that edge. But Draymond's never been a guy who's going to score. But he's going to facilitate. He's going to do all of the dirty things. But you have to find a way to harness all of that energy and do it within the realm that of the way that they want you to play basketball. Because the way that Draymond wants to play basketball is not the way that Adam Silver is going to allow him to play basketball going forward. So if Draymond cannot adjust to the way that the NBA wants him to play, well, you know what? He's going to be out of the league very soon. And honestly, he's probably going to be out of the league soon. You're talking about a guy that's on the other side of 30. I know he's still a prominent figure for the Golden State Warriors. He's somebody that fans and media alike that follow the NBA talk about on a first name basis. Why? Because you can't talk about the success that the Golden State Warriors have had and not mention the name Draymond Green. We've talked about Steph Curry being an NBA MVP candidate, but the MVP for a lot of those championships for the Golden State Warriors was Draymond Green. But nonetheless, it's going to be interesting to see how Draymond is able to adjust to this because he's going to have to adjust. Nobody's going to say, Draymond, stop being aggressive, stop being, you know, physical, if you will. But you got to step back and play within the realm of how they want you to play. And again, if you can't do that, well, you know what? Your time in the NBA could be winding down. I'll tell you like this. They need Draymond, and I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors if they want any chance to win because of what he brings to that team. But you can't help your team if you're not on the court, meaning if you're suspended and you're not even allowed to be in the arena, you can't help them. And at the end of the day, again, this is still an aging core. And I know that the Warriors won another championship a couple of years ago, but I think that the title window is over for this team. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Draymond adjusts. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Warriors can do, but will do because they've allowed it to get to this point. So how do you rein it in at this point? I'm not sure. The Warriors, again, like I said, they're still trying to win with the style of basketball that they won 5 or 6 years ago. And typically, we as people are the last ones to realize that we ain't got it no more. And I'm not saying that these guys still can't play at the NBA level, but there's a difference between playing at the NBA level and being a championship caliber team. And honestly, I don't think the Warriors are still an NBA, a championship caliber team. And I think the icing on the cake, if you will, for this whole Draymond Green situation with the Warriors is when they allowed, Draymond to win out against Jordan Poole when they traded a younger guy in Jordan Poole for an aging and allowed themselves to keep an aging veteran and not just keep that aging veteran, give him a contract extension. So it's going to be interesting to see how long this suspension is going to be for Draymond Green. I think he gets at least 10 games because, we talked about, or like we've heard about at least, the NBA, wanting Draymond to get help, so to speak, in their words, not, it's paraphrasing a little bit. But, he's going to have to prove himself to them that, he's ready to go and he's ready to play within the lines of how they want him to play in their league. That's the end of the day. That's the bottom line. Don't kill the messenger on it. These are facts. So I think at least 10 games, you're probably definitely not going to see him at least play again for the Warriors for this calendar year. How are the Warriors going to react to his return when he does return? How are the fans that follow the Warriors going to react? How's ownership and how are the coaches going to react? We got to wait and see. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Warriors proceed with this. We talked about, the distraction possibly last year with the Jordan Poole, Draymond Green incident, and it was a recipe for disaster from the beginning. I have a good friend of mine. I'm not gonna say his name out here, but he knows who he is. And him and I had conversations on this when the incident happened last year. And he said, you know what? There's no way that the Warriors could overcome that situation with Jordan Poole. And sure enough, they didn't. I don't think they overcome the situation with Draymond because again, this they've allowed it to get to this level. It's to the point now, in my opinion, with Draymond Green, you got a Dennis Rodman San Antonio Spurs thing going on. And I'm saying that because when Rodman played with the Spurs, of course the Spurs had good players on that team, but they didn't have the leadership that was going to be able to keep Rodman within the realm of what they needed in order to win. He got that from the Chicago Bulls, of course, with Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan. But nonetheless, the Golden State Warriors don't have the personnel that's going to keep Draymond within the realm that everybody around him needs him to be. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next step for Draymond Green is, how long the suspension is going to be from the NBA, and how he adjusts the things going forward. This is a make or break moment for Draymond Green. How he adapts, we just have to simply sit back and wait and see. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.